I was 31 and working for Bronx Borough President Fernando Ferrer in 1990. I was Health and Human Services Director when welfare reform began. Meetings were held to plan state welfare reform. We, the Bronx Borough President's top staff, were invited to that debate by the State County Aid Association. We employed a young woman. She was a policy expert. She loved spending time with me and was very flamboyant and warm. I barely had a month on the job, but I was hired because I had a mission and showed that I could organize systemically, perform meaningful community organizing, and bring people together to avert Bronx County budget cuts. I was traveling to this meeting. Robin offered to drive me there in one of the fleet cars, government cars we had, and back since she wanted to see her lover in Albany. We were ascending. We spent 2 hours near Kingston, halfway between New York City and Albany. Rainy, cloudy, and foggy on the NY Thruway. Robin was going 70 miles per hour in the slow lane. A large 18-wheel vehicle unexpectedly backed up on the shoulder diagonally into our lane. I was certain we would strike the truck at that time. I may have screamed. I felt a scream but don't recall making it. I feel bad that it may have shaken Robin more. Robin, my buddy and colleague. But it all became unimportant, as you will see. She swerved the car, left to avoid hitting the truck, but it was rainy and overcast, so the automobile skidded, got out of control, and turned around, smashing her side on the truck. I remember screaming when we were hit, and I suppose she did too, but nothing. A massive head injury put me in a coma. The ants arrived in 4 minutes and got me breathing, but I was still comatose. They transported me to Kingston Hospital, just past Kingston exit. Kingston-based truck driver missed his exit. Tolls on the New York Thruway are high and exits are every 20 miles. He was trying to get back to his exit without paying the toll for a big vehicle. Backing up on the shoulder. Whether he was in the lane or if it was an optical illusion, proximate cause, is unknown. They took me to the hospital. I recall someone asking me who to call, so I must have come to. I mentioned my mother and a man I loved and was reconciling with. Some say I was under for 12 hours. I had major dental surgery and a broken jaw. I couldn't see. A paralyzed fourth cranial nerve-induced vertical and horizontal diplopia. I had a broken hip and low back. I woke up in a room, unsure where I was. An alien-looking thing was above me. His 2 side eyes and 1 top eye were moving. I felt a terrible headache and saw a bright fluorescent light. This alien was a doctor. Because of my paralyzed nerve, my gaze was unstable. I felt out of place there, so I'll tell you about it later. It contradicted my recent experience. I kept searching for Robin. I couldn't speak since my jaw was wired shut. My communication efforts were intense. Traction prevented me from moving, and the agony was excruciating. I felt like an outsider in a strange land. I didn't belong. I kept asking where Robin was to reconcile my feelings with what I thought had happened. Nobody informed me. They didn't want to upset me because I was still seriously ill. She may have been at another hospital. I persisted, you know. I knew otherwise. I was lucky to have 2 assistants. My family hired a private nurse for me. Everlasting infinite name, Joan Perpetua. It was random and synchronistic. Warm and loving, she added. Julie, you can talk to me. Tell me what happened. I answer, truck, scream, hospital. She adds, no, honey, is there anything that happened to you between when you were hit by the truck and when you woke up in the hospital that you want to share? I began to cry. Oh my God, okay. So I told her. I reported hearing the scream. I thought Robin dead. Then Robin and I were in a tunnel cave or cavern. It felt like a cave. Despite the rock and moss, I could see light from both sides. Robin was with me. A spiritual guide was also present. He appeared ethereal, mysterious, and larger than life in my view. He gained my trust quickly. I immediately sensed his love, understanding, and goodness. He telepathically communicated with Robin and myself. Robin and I couldn't speak in that cave, but he could. He added, you two are about to go up very high, up to a place that's incredibly perfect, beautiful, loving. You will be so blissful there. Nothing in your life experience can prepare you for where you're going. He adds, here's the thing. One of you is going to have to come down, and only one of you is going to have the strength to make that trip. I wanted me. I wished it was me. I wanted to live after realizing it meant living. Of course, I had no idea where I was or where we were heading. I don't know if I chose or if it was predestined after that thinking. However, that notion made me feel guilty. What made me deserving over Robin? She was young. Although I was young minus 31, she was in her late 20s and full of life and a lovely soul. I hated thinking that since I loved her, but if I had known where we were heading, I would never have wanted to come down. Next thing I know, we're propelled. I don't know if the tunnel turned, but it was like being suctioned up like a gigantic vacuum through the sky. I was bodiless then. I didn't remember life or the cave. As if in the womb or nirvana, I was one with everything. There was no suffering when we were together. Life is great. Life can be unpleasant and hard, but that was gone. Pure light and love, gentle and ethereal like light and water at the correct temperature. Everything interconnected and flowed. My friend Robin's energy was the only thing I could distinguish. I sensed her in the light. Energy swirled between our energy states. She gave me tranquility and affection, which I will always appreciate. I assured her grieving mother that she was at peace. Now I believe it. Unsure how long I was there. It was beyond time. I was suddenly in excruciating pain. Head, eyes, everything hurt. The bright lights and people surrounding me felt strange, and nobody wanted to tell me the truth. I felt foreign. I felt alienated. Robin has visited me since. Her kindness and light have touched me. Maybe we're all terrified of death. Many of us think we'll go into a black hole and be done. Whether I was terrified of death or not, I didn't think there was anything after. Was agnostic. If there is a God, let him, her, or it show itself to me, but I didn't expect it to be a Christian God. He didn't look white. It turned out not to be that. This energy links everything to love and compassion. I now understand God that way. I believe in God, love, light, and our connection. I will argue that these events make it hard to recover. I would never have come down if I could have made the choice from up there. Have I? Why? Pure love, light, and happiness. No suffering. It was flawless. It appeared I had duties to accomplish on earth. We returned to terrible life, which makes it hard. Many people have these sensations owing to physiological changes. Mine was an accident. People return in worse pain and shape after a heart attack or other event. After experiencing love and light, they return to greater suffering than before. The International Association of Near-Death Studies helped me talk to others going through the same situation. I was empathetic and we could help each other. A support group for experiencers and such was created. I feel purposeful. I believe life and death are universal questions. My goal is to assist individuals comprehend their mortality and that of their loved ones. They may not, like I did until I saw it. I couldn't believe it, but it'll be in their brains. At least they'll say, well, you know, Julie, who seems like a really down-to-earth kind of person, certainly doesn't seem like she's making it up. She experienced something, so maybe there's a possibility, giving others hope. Julie, it does, and I appreciate you coming on because so many people are listening because they want answers or have lost someone. People like hearing about what you felt and experienced in that love and light area because it's soothing. Could you see anything or was it just light? Can you elaborate? My cat also wants to talk about that. We love kitties on the program. I didn't see much, just saw light. It was a nice white light with water for me. Some people have soft water, but not everyone. Water has always been my thing. My pisses status aside, I love water. Perfectly warm, soft water was available to bask in. Therefore, it felt like being womb-born. All parts were there. That was all. And like I mentioned, Robin and I shared a little energy. I saw nothing. I didn't have a life review, which many people talk about during this time. However, when I was told that one of us had to come down and felt guilty about wanting to live and wondering what made me better or whatever than my friend, I guess that was a life review. Perhaps it's because I believed in humanity, not God. I loved, cared, and had dedicated my life to improving the world. Overall, I had nothing to work through before entering the light. Julie, you mentioned you became one with the light, which sounds reassuring, yet people are terrified of losing their identity. Were you comfortable with that? Should we worry about losing ourselves? What a fascinating question. This is what I'd say. I lost a lot of pride. The identity thing is ego. Ego is fine. It's good to be confident and like yourself, but I think it's temporary. I mean, my soul defines me. Go to a lovely area in nature and meditate to connect with your spirit. My location and boyfriend/husband/girlfriend aren't as important. It's about our essence, which I think lasts forever. I've thought about these possibilities, including reincarnation. I've researched it extensively. Edgar Cayce was a devoted Christian. In trances, he could heal people. Living in the Kentucky mountains and having an 8th grade education, he never took money for this. But in these trances, he spoke Latin and Greek and did other amazing things. Though a committed Christian, he believed in reincarnation. Edgar Cayce and I had a strange relationship because my aunt was one of the first Jewish women to attend law school. She was smart, but grew mentally sick, endangering herself and others. Her family was at a loss and ready to institutionalize her after visiting numerous doctors. Edgar Cayce identified her brain-pressing impacted tooth, according to my grandfather. The tooth was extracted, and she was well. As an atheist, I struggled to understand because my family wasn't religious. Everyone soon believed Edgar Cayce. A Yale Medical School physician who published Life After Death and other publications is also intriguing. He performed lobotomies and prescribed many medications. A patient who feared swallowing wouldn't take medicines. He hypnotized her to find the cause of her dread. Under hypnosis, she remembered almost drowning when she was 3 or 4. This helped, but when they tried hypnosis again, her voice altered, and it was like she was in another lifetime with a major event that caused her terror. Hypnosis with her helped him overcome it, changing his outlook. He quit medications and lobotomies. He quit Yale to pursue this work because he believed in it. His entrance subjects passed through a tunnel after a lifetime. Tunneling occurs between lifetimes. Reincarnation has never happened to me, so I don't know if you can keep your personality. Since I and many others had the same experience with these tunnels, I think tunneling is to blame. Something about that seemed honest, so I was open to it. I still only trust what I've seen and done. I spoke that loudly enough for God to hear me. I asked God to show himself and got this experience, so be careful what you ask for. Was that connected or a coincidence? I think it was linked. I now believe it was linked. For whatever reason, God wanted me to see it. Did it matter that you were agnostic during this experience? As an agnostic, I didn't know if God exists. Before having an experience with God, I wouldn't believe a book by men. Not an agnostic anymore, but not a Christian. Though born Jewish, I don't identify as such. I just believe in God and love. There are good things to believe. Yes, I agree. The world needs more of it. I see a lot of animosity for those with different opinions, and communication is shut off everywhere. This is terrifying. Julie mentioned the cave, which I found fascinating. It looked earthy. Did that place feel earthly? Anything else? It might have been any cavern with light from all sides, so it was earth-like. Soft moss covered its granite face. Since then, I've sought for moss since it was so healing. Mossy locations make me joyful. I guess it might have been any cave but that. Naturally, the presence with us was ethereal and shadowy, outside of existence. We were in between. In the light, we could communicate in meaningful ways, but not in the cave. I sensed her love and peace, and she felt mine. You didn't remember Earth or the cave when you were in this place of brightness. However, you say you've communicated with Robin since she died, so there must be awareness. I think life, death, and beyond are permeable. Because it's crucial, I'll explain my chat with people. I believe we can feel and communicate with the dead. There are dreams and thoughts, but individuals also want to feel each other and know they're okay. Strong love recognizes no limits, in my opinion. It will appear if we stay open to it, and I'd like to discuss what that looks like. It's unclear if where we were was an interim spot. We were in the light. Robin may have gone from there into. I don't know where that ended right. Many experts say, oh, it's oxygen loss, it's something, a tunneling effect, which I disagree with. No, I disagree. That wouldn't explain why Dannion Brinkley, an assassin, became love-filled, or why individuals change and become more loving after an experience like this. They change not just from oxygen deprivation and tunneling. However, wherever she went, she could communicate. I'll share what I found. I was on the International Association of Near Studies speakers list and was invited to talk at a grieving group 3 or 4 years after my encounter. Ironically, when I returned the call, the woman said, "We're all the way up in Kingston, New York. That's an awful long way. Are you able to get that far? I saw you at a 914, which is Westchester, which is kind of on the way to that, number." I thought we might get lucky because I'm looking for a bereavement group speaker. I went up, and it was so strange because it was in Kingston, 2 hours outside the city where I had my accident. Also, there was a grieving group of folks who had lost their children, which humbled me. Though I don't have children, I know losing a child is the worst loss. I know it. I wondered, what should I tell them? I meant to discuss about my experience and what I learned, an understanding of this transit, etc., but when I saw this 50-person bunch, I was lost. I decided to go another way. I asked, "Hey, since your child has died, have any of you ever had an experience where you felt the connection, where you felt there was communication happening?" Out of 50 people, that was almost the whole meeting. People's stories were touching. Oh, how they felt their child. There was one quiet guy who didn't say anything, but he lingered during coffee hour and stood there. Finally, I went to him and asked, "Is there something that you want to share?" He answers, "Oh, no, I don't. I didn't really have." "No, I don't think I had." No, I don't think." "Well, why?" "Whatever it is, why don't you share it?" "I mean, who knows? Let's talk about it." So he said, "Well, my wife and I got divorced after our daughter died. She was 7 years old. You should know about my daughter. She loved geese and she loved rainbows. They were her signature in her paintings or drawings. Everything, There was always a rainbow. There were always geese." He said, "Well, she was out bicycle riding in front of the house, and a car hit her and she died." He says, "My wife and I did not stay together. We were able to reconcile. Apparently, when people die like that, children die, it's very hard on a couple." He said, "But we stayed in touch and everything. And a year or 2 later, I was doing some work on the second-story window in the house that she lived in. She still lived in where our daughter had lived with us. And suddenly, I felt something grazing my arm, and I looked, and there was a triangle of geese, literally right next to me. One of them touched me, and they were flying toward a rainbow that was encircling the sun." He says, "Oh, my God." He said, "I got off the ladder, and I was crying from joy. I really felt that that was our daughter, and she was telling us that she was okay. I mean, it couldn't have been anything else. And I told my ex-wife, and she said, 'Get over it. Get over it. She's dead. Move on. I know it's hard, but you need to get a life.' So he said, so I just stayed busy since then. I'm like, dude, go back to nature. Go find a beautiful place where you feel total peace, and just be there. Stop doing and start being. And when you hear any voice, or any feeling, or anything, instead of trying to push it away, let it in, and more will come. And that is the essence of connection." Dr. Judith Orloff is a psychic and psychiatrist. I took a course with her at Kahlo in Burkar after her near-death experience. She taught us to access our psychic essence. She taught us we're all psychic. Not "I'm a psychic, pay me to tell you what's wrong." We all have psychic empathy, déjà vu, precognition, and compassion. Everything together makes mental nature. But connecting with it is our talent. We're so busy in our society that we degrade others' experiences. I believe in all of that and encourage it to those seeking connection. Celebrate when you have it. It'll likely happen again. Thank you, Julie. I think your story is crucial. People need to hear this. I have more questions, but let's move it to part 2. Thank you very much. First time interviewing someone with a shared near-death experience. I enjoyed talking to Julie. It was a new experience. I enjoyed hearing how she and Robin connected in the light. It would be great to hear your opinion. Is there anything else you want to discuss from the episode? Post that in the comments, and I'll react. When you get this far, I always ask if you can. Just put made it. I appreciate that and your likes. I appreciate your support of this show, everyone. As for part 2, I always ask guests, what's the most significant thing you learned? Julie will address that. I also thought she said some fascinating goodbyes. Please return for part 2, and I'll see you then. I appreciate your presence on Beyond with Heather Tesh. Leave comments and questions for prospective guests. If you liked the podcast, use the thumbs up button and subscribe to support it. Check Beyond with Heather Tesh for more episodes.